Hello, good evening. Kia ora from New Zealand. My name is Scott Matheson and I'm the co-founder of Working in New Zealand. Delighted to have you all here. Literally hundreds of people on this webinar from all over the world. For some of you, it's the afternoon, some it's the evening, and for us, it's 9 a.m. in Auckland. So welcome. It's fantastic to have you here to learn all about how you can move to New Zealand. Especially after COVID, once we get through these bumps and into 2022. So got a great panel on today that I'll introduce you to right now. We're going to cover off quite a lot in a very short amount of time about construction and infrastructure jobs in New Zealand and how you get down to New Zealand and how you can actually gain residency in New Zealand and change your life, essentially. We've been doing this for over 20 years. We love it. So stay on and we'll give you as much information as we can possibly do to get you to the next step and hopefully have you down here. So starting on my screen anyway, I go all the way up to the UK. Paul Goddard has been working with us for many, many years. Paul, if you could introduce yourself. I'm sure you know the people on this. I can see in the chat already, you're chatting to friends.
Yeah, I think everyone in the chat room knows me already because I've been typing away furiously answering questions. But my name's Paul. I moved to New Zealand with my family back in 2003 and spent 18 years in New Zealand. I think the past sort of 12 or more years of that now has been helping people make the move to New Zealand like I did. I'm currently in the UK at the moment, just short term, and I'll head back to New Zealand at some point. But we're in a really good position to help people today. The borders, we'll talk about borders as we go forward and things, but the world's moving in the right direction. New Zealand's moving in the right direction. Borders will be opening. 2022 is going to be a huge year. And we're looking forward to sharing information. So if anyone's got questions, just type away in the chat room and I'll be typing away answering.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was only reading yesterday that one of our largest banks is predicting a big bounce back in our economy in 2022, based almost solely on infrastructure. So continuing on my page, Hilary Bonham is our recruitment and employment specialist in the infrastructure space. Hilary, if you could introduce yourself, please, as well.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Yes, my name's Hilary and I'm the International Recruitment Manager for Infrastructure and Trades at Working In. I've been working with this lovely team of people for a very long time. I think it's been on and off for nearly over 10 years. And I guess, like Scott said, we love what we do. We're super passionate about helping people like yourselves through their journey of moving here to New Zealand. It's a great country and I'm definitely proud to call it my home and look forward to helping you guys on your journey.
Thanks, Hilary. And our other speaker, final speaker is Candy Lung, one of our licensed immigration advisors. Candy, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Candy and I'm a licensed immigration advisor based in Auckland. I have been working as a licensed immigration advisor for more than 10 years now, and I joined Working In for about a year, just about a year now. My key role in Working In is doing the eligibility assessment and also helping overseas clients like you to migrate to New Zealand on the visa side of the process. And I look forward to have the opportunity to work with you and be part of your journey to New Zealand.
Thanks, Candy. Yeah, Candy mentioned that she's a licensed immigration advisor. I just really want to make a point that in New Zealand, the immigration industry is overseen by the Ministry of Business. And so therefore, in order to be a licensed immigration advisor, you basically have to pass exams, you have to meet certain criteria, and you have to basically be of, an upstanding person. The industry is very well governed, and we have 11 licensed immigration advisors here, and Paul is also a licensed immigration advisor. So our advice is, whatever you do, work with a licensed immigration advisor in your move to New Zealand. Otherwise, you could be open to being taken for a ride, basically. So that's our short advice in Kiwi speak. Okay, let's just get straight into this. We want to cover off quite a lot. If we could bring up our agenda today, these are sort of the topics that we'll be covering. The current situation here in New Zealand, obviously we've got COVID at the moment, and we're in lockdown in Auckland. The immigration and visa overview, what's happening, what do we see going forward, because immigration is constantly changing. We've never seen so much change as recently. How do you get a job when you're offshore? How do you get a visa when you need a job? What's actually happening in the construction landscape now? And how to prepare for that job market is really important. We'll touch on the border exceptions, but we believe that the borders are going to open in early 2022. So is it worth applying for a border exemption right now? Not sure with the time available. And what's the next steps? How do we go forward from here? What is your next steps on your move? So we'll cover this off. We're very aware of your time. It's in the evening for many of you. We will finish on time. Okay. So Hilary, look, I think you're in the hot seat. You're the infrastructure person. We've been bringing people into New Zealand in the construction industry for over 20 years. How does it rate now in terms of demand?
In terms of the market, so we've got lots going on. And I'll just bring up a couple of slides to show you guys, just to kind of let you know where we're kind of sitting as a country, and where we're kind of, I guess, what is exciting for you guys, and where the opportunities are. So the first point on the slide, I guess what we know at the moment in infrastructure is that our government here is investing billions across the country, and that's due to our population growth. So we have just over 5 million people in New Zealand, with 500,000 people added to the population over the last 6 years. So just to give you an indication of growth at that rate means that we would need 40,000 new workers per year. So it's huge, the growth that's happening here. We also know that the government has a lot of approved projects planned from now until 2032. And the main areas are across roading. So that's including huge new railways, busways. So civil construction continues to be on the rise here in New Zealand. We've got a lot of open space, so there's a lot of room for this growth to happen. There's also rail, so we've got ongoing maintenance and new rail planned across the country. We've got huge projects in this space. We've got the City Rail Link project, which is worth around 3.4 billion. And this is a massive underground twin tunnel, which is around 42 metres below our main city, Auckland. And that's just one of the projects that we've got. And you can just imagine, with the scale of those projects, the amount of people that are required to work on them. We've also got our water services projects. So this includes waste management. We've got a lot of new upgrades happening to our treatment plants. And then we've also got the other main area. There's a lot of others, but the other main area would be the new and redevelopments of our hospitals, universities, schools, and recreation facilities and community housing. And what else have we got? We've also got big upgrades happening with our main airports. So both Auckland and Wellington have got huge upgrades happening in the next few years. And I've been talking to a lot of our clients. A lot of them have won the tenders for a lot of these great projects. One of my clients I was talking to yesterday has won the Dunedin Hospital build. So this is a super exciting 6-year project from design to build, and that's the surrounding areas as well. And we've also got other clients that are involved in who else was I talking to yesterday? Oh, they've got the new project for the Christchurch Stadium. So there's a lot of civil, but also a lot of redevelopments and new subdivisions and construction. So that's exciting. And just on the third point, we know that there's huge demand for infrastructure and construction professionals across all of New Zealand. We need the resource for these projects, and the amount of investment that's going into these projects requires thousands of people across all sorts of different skills. So it's super exciting for you guys to work on some key infrastructure projects. All the roading planned will see new subdivisions happening across the country. And we really have had, as Scott was saying, skill shortages in this space prior to COVID, and now it's becoming problematic to resource these approved projects and also private projects. With our growing population that I mentioned, we've got less younger people joining the construction and infrastructure space, and we've also got an aging workforce. So around 22% of our workforce is actually over 50. So that means that there are ongoing opportunities, there's ongoing needs. And on to the fourth point on the slide there, we know that jobs in New Zealand across engineering, construction and trades are on our long-term, regional and also our construction and infrastructure shortages list. So there, it has been recognised as a chronic shortage. Engineering in particular, it's estimated that would need around 1,500 new jobs each year to match our economic growth. And just to give you an idea, infrastructure will be our fastest growing sector, and it will be dominated by transport, water, and the subdivision projects I'm talking about. And the main areas that you guys might have been doing some research on New Zealand, but the main three areas are Auckland, Waikato, and Bay of Plenty, that definitely affected across the country. And with construction and the trade skills, we'll be needing nearly 5,000 new jobs a year that will need to be created by 2028. So it's huge. Construction is our fifth largest sector in New Zealand's economy, employing just over 250,000 people. And our labour shortages in construction, as highlighted in the graph below, is at its highest that it's been in 46 years, so since 1965. So there's a lot going on, and what this all means for you guys is that there's a lot of opportunity, there's jobs available for people like yourselves, and we just don't have enough people with the right skills to start and complete some of these projects. So great time to start the process.
Thanks, Hilary. Yeah, I think we get the picture. There's a lot going on, and just to reiterate a couple of Hilary's points, when the borders closed, New Zealand's always been reliant on skilled migrants for all sorts of jobs: teaching, healthcare, infrastructure, finance, IT. New Zealanders travel. We're kind of like the Irish, so we've always got a skills shortage. People are leaving the country because they want to see the world. But over the last 2 years, that tap has been stopped. But the demand for workers has grown, and our unemployment rate is the lowest it's been for years. It's under 4%. And so our employers are screaming out across all sorts of different industries. There's some interesting comments on here. We'll try and answer them all. If we can't answer them now, we'll try and answer them later. But the COVID has created this really crazy situation where there's pent-up demand. But Hilary also mentioned baby boomers, the aging workforce. We are now seeing very large volumes of people turning 65 and leaving the workforce. And these are the really experienced people that New Zealand needs. And so we need to sort of turn to people from offshore to find those roles. So why is it good? Well, Paul can explain the whole conundrum around the visa and the job, because in New Zealand, to get a visa, you need a job. And that's how essentially we help with you. So Paul, can I ask you to explain the whole process?
Yeah, a few people have been asking questions around this. Some people refer it to the catch-22 or the chicken and egg scenario of, I can't get a job offer because I haven't got a visa, but I can't get a visa because I haven't got a job offer. And if you're sat overseas outside New Zealand and you are just sort of considering applying for jobs online, firing off CVs, it generally doesn't work. It has a success rate of less than 2%. And it's easy to understand if you put yourself in the employer's shoes. So if I'm an employer in New Zealand, and Scott and I and a lot of our team have actually sat in offices with employers in New Zealand and watched them do this, they'll they'll get a pile of CVs if they've printed them out, or they'll get them on email, and they'll look at them, and they'll quite often look at somebody from overseas and they'll say, wow, this person's amazing. They've got skills that we couldn't get here, and look at that experience. It's huge, but they're overseas. And because they're overseas, as an employer, I don't know if they're going to get to New Zealand, when they're going to get to New Zealand, how are they going to get to New Zealand? What have I got to do so they can get to New Zealand? Will they like it? Will they stay? There's this endless list of doubts and fears in the employer's mind that a CV doesn't address. A CV tells the employer you can do the job. It doesn't tell the employer that if they offer you the job, everything's going to be okay. And that's the part that's missing. People say to me, how do you get around the catch-22? The way to get around the catch-22 is to try and remove the barriers that stop the employer moving forward. And it's very difficult, if not impossible, if you're doing this on your own, because you need people like us who are on the ground in New Zealand talking to employers who can actually prove to an employer that everything is good to go and you're ready to take the job offer and everything's in place and they don't have anything to worry about and everything will run quickly and smoothly if they offer you the job. If we can be saying that to an employer, it puts you in a much better position than just firing off CVs. And COVID's changed everything. With the borders closed, employers are even more hesitant to get involved in that visa process now because it's changed. There's been lots of changes to policy. If employers understood immigration even slightly, 18 months ago, they're out of date now. They've fallen behind the 8 ball, as they say. And if an employer doesn't understand how to get you into the country, then how can they move forward and offer you a job? They need that reassurance that it's all going to be okay. And that's what we do.
It's a good point, Paul. And I think, look, some of the multinational companies are open to employing people from offshore, but New Zealand's made up of SMEs. 93% of businesses are small, medium enterprises. Most of the people here probably won't want to work for a major corporate, probably wanting to move away from that sort of thing. And it's the SMEs and the medium-sized companies that just don't have the bandwidth or the knowledge. But if we can prove that you as a migrant, you're eligible and you're committed and you're motivated and you're moving, then the whole conversation completely changes. Now, Candy came to New Zealand from Hong Kong. Her father came out as an IT worker. So you're experienced in this. You've actually lived the actual life of moving to New Zealand on the back of a job. So you being involved in the eligibility assessment, you're right at that pointy end. Can you just take us through what that eligibility assessment is and why you do it and what you look for? And just explain it so people understand what we're covering off, which makes people eligible for the visa. Candy.
So for the eligibility report, we will look at all your series, your experience, your person, your situation as a whole to see if we will fit in the immigration instruction. And this usually what we do is we will do a report that with all your information and all the details that you will need to move to New Zealand, or is it a possible way? So what we're looking at is like basically is your age, your work experience, your qualification, your job offer, and then is it like what we call is a SMC skilled migrant category, and but it is temporary stopped right now for the selection, but for the what we sorry so for if for that report, and then you will know that what is your option. So basically is you will maybe you need a work visa first to able to for you to move to New Zealand, and then you will apply for this residency visa. Because of the COVID right now, you need another layer on top is what we call the border exemption. So for the border exemption is a little bit tricky for the other critical workers because it's done by case, and it is employer lead. But the first step is always like you need to have a job offer, and then in order for you to apply for this border exemption. So for this border exemption, that's quite hopeful because we just got an update from the immigration New Zealand that currently they have about they have approved 12,000 workers since last year June. So and they also assigned off more officer to process the application. So they can see the workload is quite a lot. So that's why they having more officer to assign to it. So immigration is very hopeful for this border exemption.
Yeah. Okay. So there's two points there. First of all, you need a job offer to get the work visa, and to get the work visa, you need to prove that no New Zealanders can do the job. So the employer needs to choose that. The second point that you made is the skilled migrant category, which is the point system, which most people will know about, and people need to achieve at the moment 160 points.
Yeah. So
you mentioned age, and of course, and so that's a factor why people need to be aware of. Can you explain the age brackets?
Yep. Just one more thing to note is for the work visa. So you may already heard like there's a couple of like visa application categories such as like essential skill, long-term skill shortage list, WTR, work to residency. But since the 31st of October, it has been stopped. So like right now we only have one category of work visa, which is the essential skills. But after next year in about like July 2022, just that to 2022, then it will be replaced by a new category, which we call the new accredited employer work visa. So like there's a lot of changes in New Zealand immigration instructions. So like if you want to move now, this is a really good time because we have everything ready, and like we know quite certain that what we are happening now. So yeah.
Yeah, what you're saying is that there's a potentially uncertainty around the corner, and that's why I always like your story, because your father got in just before
just because the age change and the limitation on the skill shortage list, and so it's kind of like everything have to be like it now, and so you will know exactly what is the plan for you.
Yeah, so I think the point that we like to make is that immigration windows open and close. We've seen that consistently over so many years, and sometimes it's very, very challenging to get in, and sometimes there's windows that open, and you kind of need to jump through them. Paul has explained the situation, Paul, how there's the demand on both sides. I quite like how you do that. Can you just, in terms of there's only a certain amount of jobs that will be available, right? Once the borders do open, and you don't want to be last to the queue, right? I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, it's crazy at the moment. We've never seen anything like this. I think certainly in all my time of helping people move, the amount of people who want to move to New Zealand right now is larger than I've ever seen. And the reason for that is the borders have been closed for, I don't know, 15, 18 months now. Just because they were closed doesn't mean that people didn't want to move to New Zealand anymore. It's been the opposite. More and more people want to move to New Zealand because it's this safer country at the bottom of the world. And you can imagine there's the border and it's closed, and we've just got these people piling in at this side waiting for that door to open, and we've partially opened it, and we've let a few nurses in and a few health professionals, and as we move forward this is going to creak open, and then it will get back to fully open again. But on the flip side, we've got a whole bunch of employers who've also been struggling to get people. The unemployment rate in New Zealand is 3.7% or something now. It's the lowest on record. A country would normally have 5% unemployment anyway. So at 3.7, it's pretty much anyone who wants to be working is working. And that means there's a group of employers who are queuing up basically to get people. And they're going to be smart because there's a whole bunch of people here ready to get in. And the smart employers are going to pick the people who are fully prepared, ready to go, everything in place with help and support around them, because it makes it quicker and easier for the employer. And so not only have you got to get a job offer in New Zealand, you've got to get in front of this queue of people who are waiting to get into New Zealand. And that's very much what we're focused on with our clients who we're working with now. Our clients are not sitting around twiddling their thumbs, even though the borders are closed. They're getting information and they're getting support. They're staying motivated. And we're doing a lot of work in the background to get them ready, because this door will open. And when it does, it's going to be crazy. And there are jobs that will get filled. And once they're filled, they're gone, you know? So don't sit around and wait is the message. Don't sit around and wait for a date when the borders are going to open. It's not going to be like that. There will be a date when there's an easing, and then there'll be a date where there's another easing, and then there'll be a date where there's another easing. And if you're waiting for those dates, everyone else is in front of you.
Thanks, Paul. Just looking at some of these comments, someone said, did Candy say there's an age change coming? No, there's not. What we're saying is that you get more points depending on your age bracket. And for permanent residency in New Zealand, the age limit is 55, but you get fewer points the older you are. So we just want people to be aware that the longer you leave it, the closer you could be to the next bracket, which drops your points, which may affect your residency. So once you do your eligibility assessment, we'll be able to show you all the different brackets around that. I've also seen a question saying, what are the quarantine rules at the moment? As of today, managed isolation is 7 days, but you must be double vaccinated to come into New Zealand. And I think that's a point that we really need to make. In fact, for some industries like healthcare and teaching, New Zealand's taken quite a firm stance around vaccination. It's reasonably it's a firm stance, and that means that all teachers and all healthcare workers must be double vaccinated to actually attend work. So please bear that in mind if you're thinking about New Zealand. New Zealand is not allowing people who aren't double vaccinated into the country, and if you're working in healthcare or teaching or some other areas like fire, then you must be double vaccinating as well. What we'll ask you to do, if you're interested, is just fill out a free eligibility assessment, and that'll give us a really good idea of whether you meet the criteria or you don't. And if you do, then we'll basically invite you to have a quarter of an hour with Paul around your personal situation, because there's a lot of questions here which are very specific to particular people. Things like electricians, yes, you need to be registered. Plumbers, yes, you need to be registered. Nurses, yes, you do need to be registered. But a lot of other occupations, you don't need registration. So keep your questions coming in. We've popped up a link there which says you can put in a free eligibility assessment. We really encourage you to do that. Candy and her team will look at that and basically give you a pretty clear answer. Yeah, it looks as though you can make it, or if you can't, why not? Now, moving on to the actual job, because that obviously is the key thing. Hilary, I know that one of your clients, a construction company, offered a British national a job this week. I know there was a signed contract. Both the person in the UK and the employer here in New Zealand absolutely know that that person can't lodge their visa or come down to New Zealand until post-COVID, until the borders open. So why is that, and how are employers feeling about that? Take us through the process that you do, and should people be waiting, essentially?
Yeah, sure. So it's a good point, actually. We do have a number of clients that have been successful in getting people through the borders, through the border exemption, and they have been quite high-level infrastructure roles. Depending on what they're doing, if it's attached to a government project, there actually is an opportunity for a border exemption now, which is awesome. But there are a lot of companies that are looking for skills from offshore where that particular role might not get a border exemption, but we do have a lot of clients that are wanting to pipeline candidates, and they're happy, and they are interviewing at the moment. And as Scott mentioned, they are offering jobs with their contract subject to the borders opening, which we imagine will be, towards the next year, the beginning of next year. And the companies are happy to do this. The reason why, and I know Paul was saying about companies getting inundated with CVs, and that's why companies like to work with us, because we're delivering them someone that's gone through the eligibility assessment. They've gone through our recruitment team, and our recruitment team has spent time with you individually, talking about your situation, where in New Zealand you might want to be located, are you bringing in your partner, and finding out all the detail around you. And then we're presenting you and sort of matching you to the right businesses here in New Zealand. I guess, if you can imagine being an employer here, New Zealand's becoming a super popular place for people wanting to move to. They don't know everybody's motivations and when they can actually land. So what we present to market is people that are ready to move once they get that job offer. And so I guess over the last 20 years, we've built some really great relationships with a lot of infrastructure and construction companies who work with us because we have gone through this process. So you spend time with Paul, you spend time with our visa team, you spend time with our recruitment team. So we're all in working for the same company, working for you. And I think it's becoming, as we ease into the end of the year, things are easing. The borders hopefully will be out of this lockdown soon. And as the rules come into place for the country around MIQ, the vaccinations, etc., as Scott was talking about, companies are wanting to start that process now and start talking to more people that we're bringing through. So as Paul mentioned, if you don't start the process now, when we do open up, you might have missed the boat, because it does take time. The move takes time.
Yeah, time and we can't. Someone said, how much does it cost to migrate? And it's how long is a piece of string? Don't just think about the visa process and the visa fees with Immigration New Zealand. You might be selling a house, you might be selling your assets, your car, a whole lot of things, pulling your children out of school. You're moving some of your goods across the oceans on a ship. Now shipping's gone up in price because of the supply chain problems that the global shipping is facing. And then you've got to come down here and buy a house or start renting. So look, when you are moving country and you are migrating permanently, there is cost, and it really just depends on each of your situations. It's very difficult for us to say it's going to cost this much, and that just depends on your own budget. But look, tens of thousands of people have been moving to New Zealand every year for decades, so it's definitely possible and it's doable. And depending on your seniority and your skill set, you'll find that a lot of employers offer relocation packages, anywhere between sort of $5,000 and $20,000, which includes flights and visas and shipping and maybe rent on your house for the first 2 months when you arrive. So it just really depends, and it just comes down to your job offer and what you negotiate as an individual in that particular job offer in that particular situation.
And on that, Scott, we do, a lot of the employers that we work with, we do encourage them to support you across a lot of those fees, because they understand the process that you've gone through with us. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, look,
For us, people are asking, yes, we're a business. We love what we do and we're passionate about what we do, but we also charge, because that's how we survive, and we've got a roof over our head as well. So we don't charge to find a job, not at all, but we do have fees for immigration assistance. But the reasonable fees, we encourage everybody to look around the industry and talk to other people if it comes to that point. We only see there's 3 options. You can use us if you wish, you can use somebody else, or you can do it yourself. I think there's quite a lot of risk in doing it yourself, but that's your personal choice. We're coming up for 9:35 here in New Zealand, so we're kind of getting into the sort of the wrap-up zone. Paul, we, as a licensed immigration advisor, what is your suggestions around the border exemptions and the timing as Candy said, 12,000 people have got border exceptions, but there is a cost to it. It does take time.
Border exemptions, as we know, as Candy was touching on, a lot of health professionals get them. They're pretty much the only ones that we can sort of more or less guarantee a border exemption. Everyone else falls into this little bit of a grey area at the moment. If you are able to get a border exemption, then the actual visa itself can be issued quickly once the application's put in, as long as it meets all the criteria. There's a relatively small fee for the border exemption, but then you've got to go into this managed isolation quarantine, which, you know, as we all know, has been a bit of a pain, but it's possible, and they have freed up more places. But what they are doing as well is they're phasing that out. Okay, so I think it's 2 weeks at the moment that you've got to isolate for, but then they're going to cut it down to 10 days or 7 days, and then they're going to cut it down to something else as time goes by. So I think those of you who are lucky enough or potentially lucky enough to be able to get in right now when the borders are closed, yes, it's possible, but you need to be doing things right now. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And you need to be talking to us, and we need to be securing jobs quickly and going through that process. For everyone else, though, don't give up and don't get frustrated. I mean, we've been waiting 15, 18 months now for the borders to open. We're literally, I mean, I'm really excited. We're literally months away from seeing the borders open again and seeing tourism back in New Zealand and seeing, you know, all these things that New Zealand is built on immigration and tourism, and they've been taken away for 15 to 18 months. We've got a little bit of time left, so use that time now. I wouldn't worry too much about border exemptions. Use the time to get ready and get ahead of everybody else and be at that front of the queue for when those doors open.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. When the borders do open, there'll be a lot of media around it, and everyone will be just sort of jumping on the bandwagon. So yeah, we definitely think start now. There's a lot of compliance that's required for your visa. Some people have said, hey, there's IELTS required. Yes, for the majority of countries, for residency, you will require an English language test. For the UK, Canada, other English-speaking countries, no, you don't require IELTS, but you do need original certificates and original substantiated copies of your degrees or your qualifications, and all this stuff does take a long time, and you don't want to be in a situation where you think you've got the perfect job and you know that you can move to New Zealand and suddenly you're trying to contact your university or education provider to get an original certificate. So start now, really, because all this stuff takes a long time. So just to run through that process again, we've sent you a link, which is the free eligibility assessment. Candy and her team of advisors will look at each of those assessments. Laura, who's our candidate manager here in Auckland, is currently working from home, like most of us. She will contact you and say, listen, looks as though that you meet the criteria. Book 15 minutes with Paul, just to discuss your personal situation. And then Paul will probably advise, hey, look, do a deeper eligibility assessment, which will give you your pathway. From that eligibility assessment, you can make a choice. But basically, our licensed advisors will tell you exactly what your pathway to New Zealand is, and you can do what you want to with that. You can either use us or not. And I'm really clear about that. But at least you'll know what your position is. And so that's the sort of first 3 steps of the process: the free eligibility assessment, meeting with Paul, and then the paid eligibility assessment, which is very deep, and also gives you a 1-hour consultation with Paul, going through that and explaining all the options. So there's quite a bit to it. It's not as simple as it looks on the outside. That's why we have an immigration industry and why we have licensed immigration advisors. Because there is complexity and there's risk. So look, it's 9:39. I'm really aware that you probably want to get to your dinner or get into some Netflix, wind down. So maybe if everybody starting with Hillary can just summarize and sign off.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Great to talk to you guys. I hope you got some good information out of today. I think the main thing I just want to leave you with is what are we now? We're mid-November. So we know that things are going to move next year. We've got Christmas in between, and then we've got that gap of that everyone's away over January, and then we come into next year pretty much full throttle. So I think the main thing is to know that it's a really good time to start this process now. I've talked through the government projects, what they're investing. We know that there's a shortage, so there's some really awesome things going on, and hopefully look forward to you guys to meeting with you and coming through the recruitment team and supporting you in a role in New Zealand.
Awesome, Hilary, thank you. And Candy, what's your last words of wisdom, please?
Yeah, as Paul and also Scott say, like the immigration window like opens and closes like quite fast, and so like we would really like you to start the process very soon and like get all the documents, registration in place, so when the windows open, you can take the opportunity to actually start the process and move to New Zealand.
Awesome, thank you. And Mr. Paul Goddard from the UK.
I think just following on what Hilary said there, I mean, it really spells it out. November, I mean, we're in November, it's Christmas and then it's summer all rolled into one in New Zealand. Everything shuts down. Everyone in New Zealand goes to the beach for a few weeks, and they'll be glad of that after the last few months. But basically, next year is coming really fast. So don't hang around. There's a free assessment form you can fill in there, a free appraisal. So get that done. It's not going to cost you anything. It will put you in front of us, and some of you will move forward. One quick tip to everyone, because it does get confusing with all this information. Think of the move in 4 steps: getting ready, getting a job, getting a visa, getting on a plane. It's really easy to understand the process. Get ready, get a job, get a visa, get on a plane. That's how you make the move. But every one of those steps has its own barriers and hurdles to overcome. And that's why you've got to do it step by step by step by step. And it takes time. But if you're determined and you meet the criteria and you've got help and support around you to minimize the risks, maximize the opportunities, that's how you move to New Zealand.
I love those 4 points, Paul, and I think the getting ready is the longest and most complex, right? So, yeah, I think we've made the point. Look, Hilary, really interesting. You said it's middle of November, and for those viewers out here, just to understand our Kiwi culture, you know, we've got to run up till Christmas now. Our business shuts around the 21st of December, but there is a real wind down as we move towards Christmas, just because it's summer, it's hot, we've been in lockdown, everyone wants to get out. And then we have a very long Christmas holiday. Most businesses don't return until about the 14th at best, possibly the 21st, around that sort of time. So January is a very, very slow month. It's the time we take off to spend with family. It's the equivalent of the European July, and you know, not a lot happens. So really, act now, or we're going to be sort of like moving into February. And by that time, things will be really starting to crank. So good point. I hadn't actually considered that. And it is unbelievable that it's the 17th of November. Well, it is for us, 16th for most people here. But yeah, 17th of November already. So look, I think we've done quite well to fit everything in. I really appreciate everybody coming along. Just so much activity on the, you know, on the group chat. We will be in touch with everybody. Ask us any questions. We're here to help. That's what we do. And, you know, we really would love to see you all down in New Zealand. We do need skilled people. So you are welcome. Very, very welcome. Thank you. And good night. Bye now.